Welcome to my Megadeth Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good album collection video, guys. So we'll start off with the first version that I ever bought. That was actually the 2003 remixed and remastered edition, which sounded pretty abysmal compared to this original 1985 Combat CD pressing and the more recent remix and remaster that Dave did. But I think it was a year or two ago, and it just sounds fantastic. My only complaint about that is the drums could have sounded a little better. But for what it's worth, he went back to the original master tape or multi-track tape and remixed the album. I don't own it. I may just buy the MP3 and be done with it since I own these other editions. But if you want an original sound and you want something cheap, the original Combat CD pressing is the way to go. Some complain about it and say that it sounds lo-fi, but you gotta understand, in 1985, excuse me while I fix this booklet, metal albums were not being released in audiophile editions, and frankly they're just not today. It's not a genre that's being released by the audiophile labels. However, and I will show one here in a second, an original 1985 Combat vinyl pressing, and I've shown the label many times. Fortunately he has ring wear. I want this guy too, but that's fine. The albums are still intact, and that's what matters. So, well, maybe I can get a better, yeah, that looks better. So, you have tracks like Last Rites, Love to Death, the title track, Skull Beneath the Skin, These Boots, which is not on every copy of the album, Rattlehead, Chosen Ones, Looking Down the Cross, and Mechanics. You have the original lineup here with Dave Mustaine, of course, at the helm, Chris Poland, David Ellefson, who's no longer in the band, unfortunately, and Gar Samuelson, who passed away in 1999 of liver disease. There's my card. I mean, this is the pretty good version on record. Is it the best? That's subjective. I mean, yeah, everyone's going to have their own opinion on that. The cover does look better on other editions. As far as I know, there's no current in-print edition of this album with this mastering. At one point there was, I think 5 years ago when I bought this, but right now there just is not, and that's perfectly fine. And that leads me to this guy, the Music for Nations, let's see here, MFN 46DM by Music for Nations. So you have the better resolution back photo with changed font for the track listing. Then you have a more detailed photo here, higher resolution of the cover. This version includes Dark Metal Master double album here at, I believe it's at 45 RPMs if I'm not mistaken. My version is warped, unfortunately, on disc 2, but I think a record weight might fix that. But this came out in about 87, 88. I also have the CD version of this. I didn't want to unpack it for the video, but looks very close to the fidelity of this photo. That version is a little bit louder than the original mastering, and it's similar to this as well. So it was interesting to see an early audiophile pressing of this album, especially coming out of Europe. And I've shown the Music for Nations label many times. Metallica, some Metallica records were released under that label. Master of Puppets, and I believe Ride Lightning, but I have a bootleg of that Master of Puppets MFN, which it was done very well, I must say. But if you're gonna want a record version of this album, this is probably the one to get. unless you want the original, which this is not far off from it in terms of sound. If you want a more modern sounding version of this album, get the newest remix and remaster that came out in, I believe, 2019. You won't be sorry you bought it, or any of these editions that I show. So we'll go more into the back here. Better fidelity, or better resolution on the text here. And this is long out of print, but it's probably easy to find, and I was glad I picked it up when I did. The only other audiophile label edition of a Megadeth album that I know of is the mobile fidelity version of Countdown to Extinction, which does, a lot of people say it doesn't sound good. I almost bought it, but originals of that, the original Combat / Capital editions of that album, go for big money, especially the MoFi, even though it's a digitally sourced record. I settled for the CD. I've gone through one other copy, which I sold, then bought another American copy of that album. But anyways, yeah, that's the collection, guys, of the Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good by the one and only Megadeth. So thank you very much for watching.